The Kalahari might seem like an empty wilderness, but it's home to some of Africa's toughest predators. It's also a wilderness that inspired one of Africa's best wildlife stories ever told.
40 years ago, this was a land of ghosts and legends. Mark and Delia Owens lived here for 18 years, uncovering the secrets of the Great Thirst. Their book, Cry of the Kalahari, changed how the world saw this desert. Now we're heading back to find out what remains of the wilderness they loved.
The entire Blue Pride, 9 in all, surrounded us, nearly all of them asleep. We were quite literally in bed with a pride of wild Kalahari lions. Mark Owens, Cry of the Kalahari.
We're deep in northern Botswana, pushing south towards the heart of the wilderness, the Central Kalahari. This isn't just a reserve, it's a giant. Covering 10% of Botswana's surface, it's one of the most remote and expansive reserves in the world. In 1974, Mark and Delia Owens arrived in this exact spot with nothing but $6,000, the backpacks on their back, and an old Land Rover. Over the next 7 years, they'd uncovered the secret lives of brown hyenas and the lions of the desert. They came here as students, they left as legends. There were no trucks here, just endless scrub. To get to their new home, the Owens were effectively driving off-road, completely cut off from the world. Modern gear doesn't make the Kalahari any less remote. Once you cross this line, you're on your own. No signal, no backup, just the truck ahead and whatever the bush decides to throw at you. The Kalahari the Owens knew was a land of thirst. This year, things are very different. Record rains have turned the desert into an emerald green wilderness. It's exceptionally green. Arriving at Mtopi Gate is a humbling feeling.
We've just arrived at the Mtopi Gate. It's one of the entrances into the Central Kalahari. This is really where it starts. I don't think any of this infrastructure was here while the Owens were here.
Because of the infrastructure here today, we have the immense privilege to experience this remote wilderness, a place that just decades ago was completely inaccessible to anyone but the most determined pioneers.
Can't help but wonder what it was like driving here with an old dilapidated Land Rover.
I can't think doing this without what we currently have. So those people were brave. That's all I'm saying. It just There's no help, there's no communication, your car is not reliable, the roads are not in the conditions that we have it. Yeah, I think they were brave or very stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most technical driving, but I think the thing is the remoteness. If you have any sort of major vehicle failure out here, and even more so for them, you could be here for weeks without seeing any other human being. Where, even, the last time we went from north to south, I think there was a good 4 or 5 days where we did not see other humans.
Not anybody. I think it was quite scary. And Delia did one trip all by herself, or 1 or 2 trips all by herself as well. So
Yeah, so when Mark was flying the airplane, she was driving. They did have a Land Cruiser later, which was a good thing.
It's difficult to describe the excitement and joy we felt. We had found our Eden. Here was a place where creatures did not know of man's crimes against nature. There was no road, no sign of other humans. We were totally cut off from the outside world.
Heading out on the track toward Deception Valley, you can almost taste the anticipation. We're heading into one of the most remote places in the world. We're heading to our first camp, Kori. Then we'll drive north to Sunday Pan. We'll then take the cut line west and then north to Mtopi. We then head south again for Sand Pan. Our last camp before heading back to Deception again is Piper Pan. We've arrived at our site for the night, and this is the reality of the Central Kalahari. There are no fences, no running water, and little or no facilities. You're entirely self-sufficient out here, sharing the landscape with everything else that calls it home.
This is Kori Camp number 3. It's one of our favorites. We've been here before. And we're not far from the Deception Valley at the moment. So we'll show you around Deception Valley and specifically Tree Island Camp where Mark and Delia stayed. It's quite warm. It's around 30 to 34 degrees Celsius. We've had it even hotter than that here. That is something in the Kalahari in summer. It does get warm. It's March already, so we're supposed to be going into winter, but it's still pretty warm.
As the light fades, we're settling into our first camp. There's a specific kind of silence that only exists out here, though it's never truly silent. With the fire crackling and the desert coming alive around us with barking gecko chirps and jackal yaps, there's an incredible sense of anticipation of what's to come.
The night always began with the jackals. Their high-pitched, yapping cries would drift across the valley, an eerie staccato that signaled the end of the day's heat and the beginning of the predator's hour. It was a sound that made the vastness of the Kalahari feel even more immense.
It's time to see what's really out here. We're hitting the tracks for the first time. With the desert this lush, the chances of a big sighting are high, if you know where to look.
Yeah, so we're about to hit Deception Pan. I think it's where the Deception Valley starts, where Mark and Delia spend most of their time. But I just cannot believe how green it is and how thick the bush is.
This is not the Central Kalahari. It is crazy.
Yeah, we've obviously had as much rain as we did here, but yeah, it's like the difference, you just can't believe it.
Yes.
Makes it difficult to spot game though. I've not seen anything this morning yet. But yeah, just considering how huge this place is, it's not a surprise. Hopefully our luck is good today.
It's not long though before we've seen signs of life emerging from the tall grass.
So right in front of us here is Markandelia's Tree Island Cap.
Amazing. And to think that this was the same valley that they had spent so many years and had so many incredible experiences. And yeah, just to see it in real life is very cool.
Yeah, it sort of takes you right back, right? Because it's like, you know, it started in the sort of mid-70s, and they were here first for 7 years and then for 11.
Our home was an island of camel thorn and umbrella acacia trees, only 200 yards long and 50 yards wide, standing in the middle of Deception Valley. Tree Island was a sanctuary, a tiny hub of life in the center of a vast, silent expanse.
On arrival, the Owens didn't have many provisions, to the point where they often ran out completely. Only after some much-needed grants did they fare a little better.
This is the Mtopi River, and Markandelia used to come all the way here from the central Kalahari to get water.
We rationed ourselves to 7 gallons of water each per week for bathing, cooking, and drinking. Everything we ate or drank tasted like rusty oil drums.
It's impossible to ignore the challenges they faced, but against all odds, their time here wouldn't just be a survival story. It would become one of the greatest wildlife stories ever told. The sun has set on the legacy of the Owens, but our own journey is just beginning. We're breaking camp and pushing deeper into the reserve, navigating the vast networks of tracks that'll lead us forward to our next goal, Sunday Pan. Looking at the map, the distance between these camps might seem short, but out here, distance is measured in patience. These tracks are unforgiving and navigating them is slow.
I've been fortunate enough that this is not my first time to the Central Kalahari, but it is the first time that I'm self-driving. So a completely different experience driving from South Africa.
We just arrived to yet another campsite full of trash, full of toilet paper, the whole place full, literally. Now, do have a look in the description below for the video we just did about do's and don'ts of overlanding. It is not okay to leave your trash here. Nobody comes and cleans these up and collect it. You've got an expensive 4x4 and camping gear. The least you can do is clean up after yourself. Similarly with doing your business, there's a perfectly fine long drop there. If you don't want to use that, bring a porta potty, pack in what you pack out. Having toilet paper running around the whole campsite is not on. How would you like to arrive to a campsite like this?
We managed to collect all the rubbish and we will carry it out with us. The campsite though is amazing. Great shade and a view over Sunday Pan.
When Mark and Delia first came here, they literally had 2 backpacks, a few provisions they could get together and moan, and their old Land Rover. We as modern travellers have a lot more luxuries. Now, we always say you don't need a lot to get out here. In remote places like this, you might need a little bit more. If you feel like taking an old Land Rover and just the basics, especially drinking water, by all means do so. We like having a shower every day. So we have to carry a lot of water, a lot of diesel, as you can't reprovision any of that in the central Kalahari. We have fridges, so we can carry fresh food, where Mark and Delia wasn't so lucky.
Being this far off the grid doesn't mean you have to rough it. Modern overlanding gear brings a surprising level of comfort in the middle of nowhere. We're back on the trucks for another drive, and in the Kalahari, when the bush goes quiet, it usually means something big is nearby. And there they are, 3 lionesses. It's a remarkable sight, but also highlights how these prides survive, often splitting up into smaller groups to navigate the harshness of this reserve. Looking at them, you can't help but wonder, are these the descendants of the legendary blue pride that Mark and Delia studied 40 years ago? In this place, history never really leaves.
They were the ghosts of the valley moving with a silent, heavy grace through the silver grass. One moment they were there, a pride of 9 golden shadows. The next, the desert had swallowed them whole.
The Owens were the first scientists to collar these wild Kalahari lions.
I aimed the long-barreled CO2 pistol at the lion's shoulder. At the soft thud of the gun, the dart buried its needle into the muscle. The lion leaped up, snarling at the stinging sensation, then bit at the plastic tuft of the dart before the drug began to steal his coordination.
We had to wait in the darkness, the red-filtered spotlight catching only the glint of eyes, counting the minutes for the immobilization drug to take effect. It was a race against the rest of the pride. We had to reach the sedated lion before his companions became too curious or defensive.
I have to use a bigger bolt on this.
Got company here somewhere.
The procedures and limited equipment of the time made this a difficult and dangerous task. What Mark and Delia discovered here changed science forever. Before their work, Kalahari lions were largely misunderstood, seen as mere threats. The Owens revealed them as complex, intelligent social hunters, rewriting our entire understanding of desert survival.
It's my first time to visit the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. Visited Botswana before, but never this part. We went to Mtopi, saw lots of elephants there. So I didn't really know what to expect coming here. In my mind, the Kalahari was a arid desert. Also from the book that I read, The Cry of the Kalahari, the expectation was a very dry desert land. And then we just found this long grass here, more than a meter high. So not quite what I expected.
Mark and Delia spent years living on the edge of these pans. And while we were expecting a dry, dusty desert, this lush green landscape is a different experience entirely. The Kalahari remains as unpredictable today as it was when they first set up camp here.
One this side, the other one's going to the other side.
The Kalahari night is where the day exhales. Everything cools down. You have amazing starlit skies and all the night sounds.
Their roars were not just sounds, they were physical vibrations that seemed to shake the very fabric of our tent and the ancient sand beneath us. It was the voice of the Kalahari itself, deep, guttural, and timeless.
The track is blocked. Being this close to the same lioness is incredible, but it's a stark reminder of our isolation. There's no one for miles, just us, the bush, and a predator that owns this silence. We are truly on our own out here. We're heading to the far north of the reserve today, a 100-kilometer drive.
So what did you guys think about Sunday Pan?
I really enjoyed it. We had a number of great sightings, beautiful camp, despite many small midnight visitors, and overall just a beautiful piece of nature.
Yeah, the rodent explosion is a little bit worrying because you have to be careful of all your wiring. That happens here, it seems, every now and then, but you know, considering how extremely green it is at the moment, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, certainly wasn't expecting so many little critters. What was rather surprising was, other than owls, we didn't see any other animal that predates on rodents. So we didn't see any snakes, we didn't see jackal or anything else near to camp that would have eaten rodents.
Yeah, especially jackals being pretty scarce. We've only seen one, and that's actually the cry of the Kalahari, which has been strange.
Yeah, gonna be an interesting drive today. 100 kilometers in the Central Kalahari Game Reserve is not equivalent to 100 kilometers anywhere else, but certainly it's going to be a beautiful drive, and hoping to see some more game and some more spectacular views.
We're at Mtopi camp. Markandelia never made it this far west, as far as we know, but we've never been and would like to see what it looks like. So if you're wondering why these bonnets are open, there's nothing wrong with the cars, but there's an absolute rodent infestation at the moment. They like it more, it seems, when it's nice and warm and cozy there, so you open the bonnets, and then you can try some deterrents in there, diesel, which can be unsafe, J's fluid, and some of the off-the-shelf sprays. We'll see how it goes.
The sun set early, around 6 o'clock, but it always offered a beautiful show. The sky faded from a fiery red and gold to delicate pastel hues, and finally to a deep, pure blue, accented by a pale moon hanging low in the western sky.
The desert's an early riser. We find 2 porcupines on the track, and one of them is digging his heels in. It's a stubborn standoff, but that's how it works out here. Kalahari residents have right of way. We're heading south again today to Sandpan and ultimately Piper Pan. Later, we find some honey badgers in the road, as well as some jackals.
They were handsome little predators with sharp fox-like faces and a broad saddle of silver-flecked fur that shimmered across their backs. In the midday heat, they looked like desert spirits, flickering through the heat haze on the valley floor.
So from a driving point of view, what should you do if you come here the first time? There's sort of two aspects. One is the whole camping side, which we won't get into now, but from a driving point of view, have recovery equipment, have basic tools, and I think have good set of 80 tires to start off with. That should get you where you need to go. There's lots of overlanding or camping equipment you'll need, and you need to put that somewhere. Awning is always nice, and you need somewhere to sleep. But I'd say good recovery gear, basic tools, good set of tires, and that includes things like spare parts and maybe spare fluids as well.
From our camp, there was no village around the corner or down the road. There was no road. We had to haul our water 100 miles through the bushveld, and without a cabin, electricity, a radio, a television, a hospital, a grocery store, or any sign of other humans and their artifacts for months at a time, we were totally cut off from the outside world.
So what did you think of Mtopi camp?
I like Mtopi. Less mosquitoes, less rodents, although one nibbled on my foot, which almost gave me a heart attack, and lots of barn owls that kept the mice in check. Beautiful sunsets, amazing company, and the best part was this morning
So porcupine.
I saw 2 porcupines.
Finding a brown hyena in broad daylight is incredibly rare, and it's a full circle moment. These animals were pivotal to the Owens' research.
To the rest of the world, they were nothing but shaggy, plodding monsters of the night. But watching them in the moonlight, I saw a beautiful, silent dignity. They were the true nomads of the dunes, moving like dark, wind-blown shadows across the ancient pans, carrying with them a profound sense of loneliness and survival that mirrored our own.
The sun is barely up, but we're already on the move. We're heading toward Piper Pan, the heart of the reserve. With the waterhole as our target, we're hopeful for some big sightings. It's one of those mornings where you just know it's going to be a great day. It's a 2.5-hour drive to Piper. Water stop. It's the one commodity you can't compromise in the Kalahari. Having extra tanks on the trailer has been a game changer. It's the difference between roughing it and being comfortable.
For this trip, there were several things that you needed to be prepared for. and some things that we were a bit worried about. The main thing being the amount of water that we could carry in our car. We realized that because we're out here for quite a few days, I think I worked out about 11 days without water. And then if you just multiply that by roughly 10 liters of water per day, which is a very small amount considering that that includes your drinking water, dishwashing water, shower water, all sorts of things like that, that would be quite a huge amount of water to carry.
We're also joined by our friends Fred and Tatiana today. They've been on a break from their 10-month trip through Africa, but came out all the way here to camp with us for a few days.
I'm Tatiana. I'm 31 years old, and I'm one part of Gravel and Salt, a traveling duo. So I'm traveling together with my husband, and we have been quite some time on the road. We started 2024 in Cape Town and traveled to Nairobi and back. So we have been quite some months on the road, and now we're here for another trip with you.
This dynamic duo make amazing food from local recipes and create some great Land Rover accessories.
Hello, I'm Frederick, the other half of Gravel and Salt. Well, Gravel and Salt was the idea of me and my wife, actually, and it became a brand that is still growing, still in the beginning, and started actually with our trip 10 months from Cape Town to Nairobi and back. Just for lighting up fires.
100%, and it's a backup.
Another sunset, another fire. With the whole crew together, the scale of the Kalahari feels a little easier to process. It's the perfect end to a long day on the tracks.
So we at Piper Pan. It's absolutely lovely here. We just did our first ever live stream, and we're also joined by Fred and Tatiana. Ross and Stefani are out looking for lions, cheetah, or leopard maybe, and they'll radio us if they find anything. Otherwise, we'll be out early tomorrow morning for a game drive. I think that lion was pretty close in the last light, maybe 50 meters.
Yeah, he was very close to us. He was lying in the road, and we were very close to the road. What a way to wake up in the middle of the night with the lion singing, and it's like, sits right here. Sure.
Okay, so let's check with Ross where they are and if they found anything there.
Yeah.
Morning, Ross. Where are you guys at?
Morning, Christoph. Morning, Vanessa. We are on Piper Pan, on the easternmost pan within the series.
Okay, cool. See anything interesting yet?
Didn't have the best night's sleep last night because at about 2 o'clock this morning we were awoken by a lion in camp. And so, yeah, from that point onwards, we didn't have the best night's sleep. So we woke up got up pretty early and went to go find them. And we managed to find one of the sub-adult males.
Yeah, I suspect last night there might have been two. So yeah, let's see what we find here.
By the time a young male reaches his second or third year, his position in the pride becomes increasingly precarious. The dominant pride males begin to view him not as a cub, but as a competitor. With sudden, terrifying violence, he is driven away from his mother, his sisters, and the only home he has ever known, cast out into a lonely, nomadic exile.
We're in a bobber pen, and we've had a great day. And we're about to have our second lion encounter for the day.
You also meet some fellow travelers in need of mechanical assistance.
Ross to the rescue.
Butterfly safari.
There seems to be a storm brewing on the horizon.
The Kalahari doesn't see a lot of rain, but when it does, it absolutely transforms this place.
At last it was raining. Water was streaming through gaps in the window frames and trickling into our laps.
The sky put quite a show on today, but the rain stayed away. It's a familiar story for anyone who's read the owners' accounts. These storms always seem to loom on the horizon. We are more than happy to keep our camp dry and enjoy the fire instead. A very sudden visitor, a buff adder, right in the middle of camp. It's a sharp reminder the Kalahari is full of hidden residents. You rarely see them, but they're almost always there.
We appreciate your efforts.
This looks amazing.
Wait.
So we've kind of stopped here where we started. This is again Tree Island, the Owens' home, and it's only fitting that we end the round trip here in Deception Valley.
It's high. First impressions of Central Kalahari, remote. Horizon, lots of space, less people, beautiful, sunrises, sunsets. I just enjoyed it, and definitely have to see more of that.
One of my favorite moments, and I'm not sure if the others might have said it as well, was when the jackal and the cat was busy with each other. The jackal, I'm not sure if the jackal wanted to take away what the cat was eating. It was an Africa wildcat, and then the cat was chasing the jackal. I mean, I've never seen anything of the sort. Not that the other sightings weren't good. I mean, we saw lions, we saw cheetah, but yeah, that was quite a special moment. And then the other one for me, is what took my breath away, was when we saw the porcupine in the road. I've never seen a porcupine, and it was just, everything was standing up, even his little tail, and it was running, and it was just bobbing around while it was running. It was super cute.
We packed the trucks in silence, each of us lost in our own memories of the valley. For 7 years, this ancient riverbed had been our universe, our home, and our sanctuary. Now we were stripping it of our presence, leaving nothing behind but our footprints in the deep sand and the cold ashes of our last campfire.
As the truck climbed the northern ridge and the wide open expanse of Deception Valley began to shrink in the rearview mirror, I couldn't help but look back at the island of trees that had sheltered us for so long. The Kalahari was closing over our tracks, as it had for thousands of years before us, indifferent to our departure, but forever changed in our minds.
Our journey was sparked by The Cry of the Kalahari. It's a book that truly changed how we see this wilderness. If you're looking for a story that stays with you, I can't recommend this enough. It's well worth picking up a copy.
The Kalahari has a quiet way of leaving its mark on you. Out here, it's an ancient rhythm of drought, of survival, and an endless search for water. It's the same wild rhythm that fascinated two scientists that once lived here, and the same one that still echoes through these camel thorns today. Because long after the trucks fade and the campfires burn out, the spirit of the Kalahari remains.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Stefani's Top Tips. Stefani, good morning.
Good morning.
Apparently there are some springbok on the left.
Where?
Please continue with your top tip.
My top tip for today is if you're going to be camping under thorn trees, do not pack flip-flops as your primary shoe that's not closed.
Aber ich überlasse dir das Reden, sag vielleicht was Englisches dazu, ja? Weil ich fahre.
That's recorded as well.
Don't come here in your brand new car.
Welcome to Thursday morning in the CKGR. For clearing.
Is daar iemand daar buite wat tablet te lees?
Maybe. Suspect it's going to be more with the slow going. And here's a Corey busted with a snake.
A Corey bastard.
Yeah, Corey busted.
Yeah, it's a
Looks like a rat.